Yo, what up? Trev TCG here, trying to answer the question, what is still missing from Explorer? We've got Explorer Anthology 2 coming out on Wednesday, the 13th of December. That'll add some new cards to the format, which we've seen. But what is still missing? There are 42 sets in Pioneer. Of those sets, 22 of them are on Arena, and all the cards there that are legal in Pioneer have been inserted into the Explorer format, but it leaves us with 20 sets not on Arena. You can see the list here. Of those 20 sets, we have 3 remastered sets, cards from our Devastation and Amonkhet, cards from Aether Revolt and Kaladesh, and soon we'll have cards from Eldritch Moon and Shadows of Innistrad, but that's not quite everything. There are a total of 3,187 cards missing from Explorer at the moment, and now obviously the vast majority of those are unplayable. And I went through to be like, okay, let me go through all the cards, and I've been through all the cards. If you're interested in an absolute complete list of all the cards missing for Explorer, there is a handy Scryfall search that I've included a link to in the description of the video. I was like, I'll make a list and go through all the cards that I think are playable. And that's still a very, very long list of cards, so I've cut it down to ones which I think are both playable and meta relevant. And the list is still quite large. Let's get into it. I'm going to go through card by card pretty quickly, I'll be honest, because otherwise we'd be here for an absolute age. Starting things off with Abrupt Decay. Obviously we have Trophy still in the format, that gives your opponent a land. This isn't strictly better, but it is better in most situations. Abrupt Decay missing from Return to Ravnica. Aetherize. Simple, blue effect, return all attack creatures in his hands. In decks where you don't have access to full board wipes, or in decks where you want to play at complete instant speed, maybe surprise your opponent. It's a nice sideboard card out of decks that also play creatures themselves. Alpha Authority, which has actually come to prominence a little bit in the Celestia Aura decks, is a thing to tutor up with Light Pause. Gives makes you make a hexproof light pause, which is super, super powerful. Archangel Avacyn. We've seen Blue-White Flash come to, put up some results recently. Is a kind of staple of that deck, and a very, very sweet card in general. Ashen Rider. One of the more powerful cards to use with something like Creativity, Transmogrify. We have other targets for that now, but it's also a very strong card still for Reanimator style or kind of cheating creatures into playstyle strategies. Ashiok Nightmare Weaver, more of a sideboard card, really good against playing against like kind of mid-rangey creature decks. Is a nice tool for blue-black. Avatar the Resolute is a kind of shout out here to mono green aggro. It's just a nice card to have in the format. Bassara Tower Archer, one of the few hexproof cards that are available in the Pioneer kind of landscape. Doesn't see play in all versions of the hexproof deck, of the kind of the Celestia Auras deck, but does see play in some. Become Immense. We've got some Delve spells missing. We talked about it before. Simple, +6/+6, pump spell, very efficient. Bedlam Reveler, personal favorite of mine. ETB, discard, draw 3, cost less for your sorceries. Really cool card for something like Prowess. That kind of deck just lets you refill. Blisterpod, kind of a shout out to Black Green Citadel in those kind of Black Green Sacrifice style decks, but then also in Citadel, obviously you get to go off with a combo element. Borborygmus, very, very cool card, but enables some combo stuff. Boros Charm, nothing else really to say here. Yeah, burn spell, yada yada. Breaking and Entering. Now, I have some personal biases, basically. Breaking, very, very powerful, mills yourself for 8, super sick, is one of the best enablers available. Bring to Light, I think, one of people's favorite cards in Pioneer, honestly. Enabling something to like the Niv to Light deck, obviously can go grab whatever you want. Really, really, really cool card. Would love to have it in the format. It's worth saying at this point as well, some of these will come through in Shadows of Innistrad Remastered. So hopefully we will get some of these fairly soon. Cartel Aristocrat, one of the really, really efficient sacrifice outlets in the format. It's free. Obviously in black-white, you can play in some kind of like Abzan sacrifice deck. We have other tools than that. Maybe you'll see some more of them later. Catacomb Sifter, another slight personal bias, but Black Green Citadel really likes to take advantage of this card. Obviously, it makes mana towards your Citadel, but then also has the Scry ability. Change the Rocks, white/white-red Yorion, but then also Enigmatic Incarnation. Really, really would like to have this card in the format. Quarter Calling, one of the best creature tutors, the best creature tutor we have at the moment. Would love to see an Explorer add to the format a lot. Collective Brutality. It's not a card that necessarily sees a ton of active play, but it's just very, very versatile, and at any point could make its way into sideboard to main decks. Has the kind of like duress ability, and also the ability to kill your opponent's creatures, and also drain them if you really want to just chuck your hand away. It's really nice if you want to discard outlet too. Collective Defiance. These are, I think, the only 2 collective cards on the list. Defiance in particular, in red-blue, alongside Narset You can take advantage of the wheel effect to kind of nuke your opponent's hand. Cyclonic Rift, out of something like mono blue control, the ability to overload later on to give you like a full reset on the game, while still being able to provide the like early removal. It's a bit of a narrow one. In particular, when you're limited on the cards you can play, if you're trying to play something like Lutri, Cyclonic Rift is actually super handy to have access to. Days Undoing, again with Narset, the kind of wheel stuff that you can get going. Pretty great, pretty great. Deathrite, yeah, it's not really found, like, it's been played in Pioneer a little bit, but not a ton. I thought I'd give it a shout out here, would be cool to have in the format. Destructive Revelry, just like a nice, like, it's a naturalized effect that also does 2 damage, like regular and aggro. We've seen, like, some Ataka's command-based aggro decks do quite well. Detention Sphere, excellent removal spell for blue-white. Admittedly, temporary lockdown maybe just shifts this out of the picture, but hey, it's still here. Dig Through Time, along with Treasure Cruise. The 2 big blue Delve spells, I've talked about them a ton, would love to have them in the format. What's he still not made their minds up, I guess. Domri Raid, a really cool addition for like red-green aggro. Gives them a source of card advantage that also gets them on board, and a bit of advantage on board with creatures, being able to fight your opponent's stuff. Dragon Lord Ataka. This is more of a thing you want to cheat into play, potentially. Dreadbore, as much as I don't necessarily want to give Red Black more tools, Dreadbore is one of the premier removal spells for the deck in Pioneer, and would like to have it in Explorer as well. Duskwatch Recruiter, very close and dear to my heart. It's a nice mana sink for kind of like green-based either company decks or kind of aggro type stuff. If you have ways to make a ton of mana, you can kind of really dig through cards. Eidolon Blossoms, yeah, Enchantress stuff, got it. Eidolon Rhetoric, just the each player can't cast more than one spell a turn ability, is quite nice to have access to. Elder Deep Fiend. It's the joke, I guess. Another one of my personal favorite cards, the Emerge, tap 4 things down, has that Time Walk stylish effect. Maybe something like Bank Company, even like Blue-White Tempo, that kind of thing. Blue-Green Flash. Well, could take great advantage of this. Eldritch Evolution, because Greasefang needs more tools. But hey, it's a really sweet card anyway. But being able to go like 1 to 3 to get your Greasefang is really powerful in the Abzan deck, and has become kind of a staple of how the Pioneer version of the deck plays now. Elspeth, Sun's Champion. It's another kind of nice to have. Occasionally crops up in lists for something like Blue-White. It's just a really cool card in general. Emrakul, the Promised End. Delirium has kind of fallen by the wayside a little bit in Pioneer, but potentially coming back. And obviously it's a really cool card. I've been playing some Marvel recently. Really sweet. Gale Rider Slivers, the sliver they didn't give us. We got Hive Lord, but really this would have maybe given Slivers a bit of an edge, giving them an extra 1 drop in the format. Card's great, maybe the best sliver they've printed in a while, and yeah. Direct Sanitarium, again, kind of interacts really nicely with Narset, and yeah, it's kind of like a free roll if you're playing like 2-color blue control. Gladecover Scout for the Auras deck. We only have 1 Boggle in Pioneer, but I would like to have it in Explorer as well. Goblin Piledriver, kind of a shout out to the Goblin deck. Now, not all versions like max out on it, but it's a really nice tool for them to have. Goblins is kind of a tier 2 deck in Pioneer, I would say. Kind of on the fringe. I've played it a bit in Explorer. The deck is quite good, but still kind of underloved a little. Grist Boon, again, fits into the Aura deck, but occasionally crops up in other things. Yeah, just like evasion, slight buff. Obviously, you can reset it for your graveyard, but it doesn't happen very often. Hallowed Moonlight, it's a cool sideboard card. Yeah, enough said. Hallowed Battlements is a land way to give you a creature haste. It's cool with things like Ubermord Hydra. Harbinger of Tides, with me Evolve coming into the format as well, and we've had a couple of other recent Merfolk editions. Like, hey, maybe we get there, Hidden Strings, of course, is for Lotus Field. Kind of enough said there, is the primary enabler for that deck, and is missing from Explorer. Invasive Surgery is just kind of a nice sideboard card. Jay's Friend's Prodigy. Sweet. Card has cropped up as a Pioneer list. It's probably the most likely of the... No, sorry. Kithian's the most likely. Jace is second to that, probably, in terms of getting played in Pioneer. I've seen a Nissa, I think, before, but yeah, very sweet. I love all the Origins Walkers. I actually have a commander deck for each of them. Jeskai Ascendancy, combo, this go along with like Sylvan Cairn and that kind of thing. Obviously, there's like kind of combo versions of the deck. There are kind of beatdown, like tokens, all kinds of stuff. Really cool card. Kozilek's Return, colorless instant speed, little pyroclasm style effect. But interacts really nicely with some of the Eldrazi. We just got Worldbreaker with Anthology 2 as well. Kithian, as I mentioned before, for humans, you got a bunch of stuff out of Anthology 2, to be honest. One of that's getting the main benefits. Lagonna-Band Trailblazer, basically only for red-white heroics, slash Boros aggro. Just another heroic effect, but also is one that doesn't die very easily to burn spells, so it makes it quite strong versus like mono red. Legion Loyalist, another card for goblins. Really, really strong. Also, it's playing those kind of like Ataka-based kind of go wide aggro decks. Liliana the Last Hope, really, really sweet card. Has the possibilities, kind of like maybe you get to pick off one of your opponent's creatures, but the -2 to mill and then return a creature, super, super nice. Very versatile. I've played it in Pioneer before. Mantis Rider, for the kind of like 4-color humans deck. It's just like a super efficient threat with evasion. Master Waves, again, for my Merfolk lovers. That's great. Monastery Mentor, I'm sure people would love to have this in the format. Is a really nice sideboard threat for like control decks, whether that be blue, white, or Esper, and gives you this really nice alternate game plan that you can sideboard into. Murderous Cut, yeah, just an official removal spell with the Delve on it. Nahiri the Harbinger, some people love it, some people hate it. I played a lot of Jeskai Nahiri with obviously other Emrakul. Can do more fair things, like get a Torrential Gearhulk. Natural State is just a fairly like good sideboard card. Nothing really to say here. Nissa Vaspecia, I talked about the Origins of War because this is one that crops up every now and again, either in Elves or in kind of like company-based strategies. Nissa Voices Zendikar, something like Hardened Scales. Really, really cool. Notion Thief, personal favorite. Again, wheels are fun. Wheels are fun for some people when you have an Notion Thief in play. Mainly you. Oath of Nissa. Yep. Painful Truths. 3 life, 3 cards. Decent deal. Part of the Water Veil. So we have some extra turn effects in Pioneer in Explorer, but not enough to kind of like build an entire deck around them. Obviously, we don't have Dexter to Fate. Thankfully. But I think adding Part of the Water Veil would allow like an extra turn deck to exist without it being like super oppressive. Piece of the puzzle. The main culprit here is Phoenix, but it does do some cool things for other decks as well. Would like to get that in. Pour Over the Pages. Shout out to Lotus Field. Another enabler there. Prized Amalgam. I've been playing Dredge a little bit recently on Arena in Explorer. And I think if Prized Amalgam existed, it would be pretty good. Like, I think it's okay now, but I think the deck would be very powerful with Prized Amalgam in it. I think that video would have come out yesterday, so check that out, I guess. Radiant Flames. Radiant Flames is an interesting one because it's a sweeper that you can play in some creature decks. You kind of get to control how much damage it does. Reckless Bushwhacker. Again, those kind of like Ataka red style decks, you're trying to go wide with creatures, play it off something like a Burning Tree Embassy, and all of a sudden you're swinging for a lot of damage. Retraction Helix kind of fits in with Jeskai's Ascendancy as a, hey, we're going combo nation. Roast, everyone's favorite Sheldrak killer. Secure the Waste, make a bunch of tokens, but as an instant means you can play it in some control strategies as well. Selfless Spirit, in particular, is like a really, really efficient creature versus Bonecrusher Giant, because obviously you get to sacrifice in response. It's really nice for the Spirits deck, both like Bant or Blue-White, but then also gets played in things like Blue-White Flash. You can cycle into it out of like human aggro decks, that kind of thing, to give you a way to protect yourself versus Wraths. Shrieking Atherixion, I think, would create the potential for another kind of deck to crop up, which is kind of like the mono black discard with like Waste Not. Adding like the ability to play like an 8-rack style deck would be really, really sweet. Sin Collector, it's just like a great utility card. Spatial Contortion, like colorless type strategies, it is a good removal spell there. Spell Queller, again, another one that I've played a ton of. Blue-White / Bant Spirits. There isn't really a good reason to play Bant Spirits in Explorer at the moment, but Spell Queller would be kind of like the card that breaks it over the gap. In Pioneer itself, you have for the kind of choice. If you're playing Bant, you're playing Bant to play like Coco plus Spell Queller. Otherwise, kind of the mono blue deck is just really, really efficient. Sylvan Scrying, hexproof ramp creature. Oh, it's great with Jeskai Ascendancy too. I've said it really there. Sylvan Scrying, again, hey, get your Lotus Fields, all that kind of stuff. Thassa, the Golden Fang. I've played a lot of these cards a lot. I realized, I guess, like I was playing tons of like PBTQs and stuff over the years, that these cards were kind of getting printed. But yeah, efficient Delve creature, has that card advantage ability built into it. It's also legendary, which matters for a couple of things. Temporal Trespass, talked about turns a little bit earlier. Predominantly, Trespass does get played, actually, in Arclight Phoenix as like a 1 of or maybe 2 of, and you can maybe copy it there as well. That's the God of the Sea, Merfolk, but also like there's potential for other types of blue devotion too. So the Chain Veil for mono green, yeah, okay, you get it with Khan, that kind of stuff. Thespian Stage, again, Lotus Field. Thing of the Ice, Phoenix, but then also it kind of does enable you to do more like mono blue control type stuff as well. We have like Ledger Shredder, so like we've been gifted, I guess, with and Ledger Shredder has replaced Thing of the Ice in some number of Arclight Phoenix lists. But hey, both cards are good. Why not have both? Tome Scour, Dredge. Yep, you got it. You got me. Traverse the Evenwald. Just Again, one of my favorite Magic cards to ever be printed. Such a life for a basic land, such a life for any land, such a life for any creature. It's great. Unflinching Courage for slicing your auras. Obviously, very straightforward. Buffs your creatures, trample and lifelink, both abilities you want on there. Revelry 8th is a nice one because it shuffles the Archangel Shaman, so your opponent can't get it out of the graveyard with something. Is a neat one for something like Keranos, which we actually also haven't got. Urborg, just put it in, right? It's not that difficult, you know. Voice Resurgence. Oh, I remember this card being so oppressive, but in Pioneer it's much more kind of like reasonable. It doesn't feel as unfair. Great green white creature, obviously super efficient, super punishing as well. Warping Whale, again for the colorless decks. Counter Sorceries, which is actually super nice, and also being able to give some interaction or ramp, depending on what you need. Lets you turn 3 Thought-Knot Seer, for example. Wasteland Strangler. We've had a few more black cards that are exiling, whether that be Midnight Trespasser, Graveyard Trespasser, Midnight? Okay, anyway. And hey, put them back in the graveyard, exile them again, kill your opponent's creatures. Excellent. Wear Tear, just efficient sideboard card. We're coming to the end here, actually. Westvale Abbey doesn't necessarily have a home at the minute, but it's a really cool land I'd like to be put in the format as we go forwards. I like doing things with lands. Woodland Bellower, go fetch your Tireless Tracker, go fetch your whatever. Just a really cool card. Worldspine, actually, the last two go together. We got Worldspine 1. I'm like, so what are you doing with this? And the answer is Xenagos. And you kind of creativity for both of them, and then kill your opponent with a 30/30 trample thing that makes a bunch of worms. And that's it. I was afraid this video was going to be like an hour long. I kind of decided to only do like a very small amount on each card. If you want to see the full list of all the cards missing, check the description. There'll be a link in there to Scryfall search. It'll show you all of them. If you enjoyed the video, please subscribe to the channel. I'll be making a ton of content with EA2 when it comes out on Wednesday. I have a bunch of decks planned out, from like elves to like bad humans to like there's a ton of stuff. And if you have any ideas or things that you want to see me play first or early or just soon, let me know in the comments too. Other than that, have a great day. Peace out.